to this remote meeting of the Harwich Zoning Board of Appeals this Wednesday, May 27, 2020. We open at 7:00 p.m. This following statement from the governor. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 30A, Section 18, in the March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Town of Harwich Board of Appeals on May 27, 2020 at 7:00 p.m. is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as wants to be here is here, but the instructions of how you log in to the meeting are contained in our agenda for this meeting, which is posted on the Town of Harwich website under Board of Appeals. Okay, I'm going to ask everybody if you could mute your microphone so we can get rid of the background noises. And just to speak, unmute. I can see who's muted and who's not. I'll call on people as we get to the appropriate place. You do need to identify your stuff by name, address, and the reason why you're participating. For example, you're the attorney, you're the builder, you're the neighbor, you're the applicant, whatever. If you're a neighbor, I would ask you to please state your address. You're supposed to do that both at the beginning and at the end of the statement. I think if you do it at the beginning, that will be fine. Okay, I will ask our board to please introduce themselves. So you have to come off of mute. Jamie?
Armstrong.
Brian?
Good evening, I'm Brian Sullivan.
Chris Murphy.
Al?
Alexander Donahue.
I'm Dave Ryer. And Shayla?
I'm Shayla Delaney, the secretary. Okay,
thank you all. Our clerk is not here, so I'll just read the case. It's case 2020-17. Margaret M. Tucci and Michael Tucci, their agent, attorney Benjamin Zender, have applied for a variance from the lot area requirement to build a single-family dwelling. The application is pursuant to the Code of the Town of Harwich, Section 325-52. It's set forth in MGL Chapter 40A, Section 10. The property is located at 1361 Orleans Road, map 74, parcel K2-3 in the RR zoning district. The Attorney Zender is with us. Attorney Zender, you may present your case, please.
Thank you, Mr. Ryer, and good evening to everybody. Mr. Chair, I was distracted momentarily when the members were identifying themselves. Could you tell me who's on the line as sitting members right now?
Yes, we're going to have the five. There are five of us here, and we'll all five be voting on this case. That's me, Dave Ryer. We have Alexander Donahue. He's one of the regular members, as am I. Brian Sullivan, alternate member. Amy Strong, regular member. And Chris Murphy, who is an alternate member.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, my name is Ben Zender, and I'm here on the line and also on the line listening and can also answer questions if the board has any, or Mike and Peggy Tucci, who are the property owners. This is an application, first of all, for a variance from the area requirement of the Harwich zoning bylaw in the RR zoning district, which requires 40,000 square feet of land area, where this lot has 2,397, I believe. I have submitted a package that the board, I'm hoping you have these materials to refer to, and I'll just very briefly just identify for the record the materials that I will be referring to. They all came in as one package. There is a Zoning Board of Appeals application, which is 2 pages. I'm sorry, 3 pages. There's a typed project narrative, which is 4 pages. There is a copy of the single-family residential regulations with regard to lot area, which demonstrate, when lot areas were in existence and when they changed. There is a copy of the November 28, 1972 special town meeting, which is the town meeting in which the lot requirement went from 15,000 square feet to 40,000 square feet. There's a copy of the Harwich zoning map. There's a copy of the offer to purchase real estate under which Mr. and Mrs. Tucci purchased the property from Elaine Brockway. That demonstrates to the board that they were purchasers in good faith. Next is a copy of the fiscal year 2020 real estate tax bill, which I'll refer to later, which demonstrates that it's classified as a buildable piece of land. Then there is a field card for this property, as well as field cards for the 2 other lots which formed a part of this 3-lot subdivision back in 1972. There is a copy of Land Court Plan 35613B, which identifies for the board the lot configurations of locus. There is a copy of the Harwich online assessor's map, which I will refer to in a moment. There are elevations of the proposed structure, and then there are floor plans of the proposed structure. There's a site plan showing the proposed location of the structure. And then there is, and I really apologize for this for all of you, there's a copy of the old subdivision plan, which is in a number of pieces, which theoretically could be printed and assembled if any of you had printers. I'm sorry, that was the only way I could get that into the board. So with those materials in front of us, what I'm asking the board to do is to give Mr. and Mrs. Tucci a variance from the lot area requirements. This lot is 23,397 square feet. I'm sorry, 23,394 square feet. And if you look at those materials, you'll see that what happened was in November of 1972, the town meeting of Harwich adopted an increase in the minimum lot size in this area from 15,000 square feet to 40,000 square feet. However, the engineer who prepared this subdivision plan that was presented to the planning board for review as an approval not required plan got it into the town 2 days late. And missed the cutoff deadline for grandfathering these lots for buildability purposes. Subsequent to that, the other 2 lots in the subdivision were granted building permits in 1982 and 1987, one of which was Elaine Brockway's house, the seller of the property. The land has been, as is shown by the field card, assessed as a buildable piece of lot valued at $131,000 and change. And the Tucci's came along, sold their house, bought this property to build their permanent residence on, to retire to Harwich, designed their home, went down to meet with Mr. Chesley, and were informed for the first time that it was not a buildable lot because it didn't meet buildable lot area requirements. So they are now living in temporary accommodations and hoping to build this house. What they want to build is shown on the attached plans as, I believe, a very modest house of 1,478 square feet. It's a single-story ranch-style house with an unfinished basement. It meets all the dimensional requirements. And if the board were to look at, in your package, page 20, it shows the assessor's map for this area, and you'll see that every lot shown in this assessor's map in this area is developed. And this lot is actually one of the larger lots in the subdivision. We had sketched into the assessor's map all of the lot areas of the lots in this immediate area. And this is one of the larger lots. Most of the lots are roughly 17,000 square feet. So I'm working backwards here. I don't think there's any question that the development of this lot in a neighborhood of all pre-existing non-conforming lots would create any type of a density impact, a view impact, a scalar massing impact, a traffic impact that would be out of character with the development of this neighborhood as it was developed at the time. The size of the house at 1,478 square feet as a single-story ranch house is certainly not a house that will stand out in the neighborhood as being changing the character of the neighborhood, as being overly large. And so the relief can certainly be granted without derogating from the spirit or the intent of the bylaw, which is that neighborhoods, maintain minimal density and impact. The hardship to the Tucci's, I think, hopefully is very clear to the board. They spent their money on this property. They sold their home. They moved into temporary accommodations. They were getting ready to build this house. They applied for a building permit, and then were found that this lot is not buildable. If they don't get this relief, this lot's value will literally plummet from being a buildable lot assessed at $131,000, of which they paid $125,000 for. It would being what we call assemblage land, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 in value. So I think there's a clear hardship. I think the difficult part of the variance for this board is going to be, what is the hardship? How is that related to the lot, and in what ways is it related to the lot? Well, it would have to be topography, soil condition, or shape. The lot is unremarkable in terms of topography or soil condition, but the shape of the lot really is what created it. When the developer came in 1972 and divided this square lot into 3 lots, he created this lot of a roughly trapezoidal shape with sufficient frontage on both roads. But the shape of the lot combined with the perimeter and the length of the lot, the small size. Be very, very difficult for my clients. And I think if the board does grant the variance, it could do so knowing that the development of this lot in this way is going to be both a benefit to the town from a tax point, and also from bringing Mr. and Mrs. Tucci in as good neighbors and good citizens and residents of Harwich. And I hope you grant the variance, and I'll try to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Zender. Al Donahue, comments, questions?
What year was this property purchased by the petitioner?
They purchased the property, and in the package, there's a copy to purchase, and I'll just roll back it really quickly. It was in 2019.
So it was in 2019 that they realized, were told that this was an undevelopable lot.
Yes. After they bought, Mrs. as a second lot adjacent to her home for all the years previous, and then she sold the vacant piece of property to Mr. and Mrs. Tucci.
Okay, I'll pass. I have no further questions at this time.
Okay, Brian?
Well, hey, thank you. First of all, folks, Peggy and Michael, I want to let you know that I actually have lived through that same kind of situation that you're currently going through, so I understand your pain. And years ago, I bought a house in Berkeley, Mass. And after we moved in, the building inspector came by. It was a new construction, and informed my wife as she was unpacking the garage that it was illegally built with improper setbacks, and we had to file for a variance. So so I know how you feel in a way. My question don't reflect my opinion of whether you should be granted variance. It's more educational in a way, but and maybe David, you can answer this question for me. The town meeting back in November 28th of 72, they filed this, 2 days later on the 30th. Wouldn't the town meeting creating a new zoning changes have a period of time that allowed for people to, be grandfathered in?
Yes.
Yeah, but they didn't do whatever was required at the time.
I had the impression they did it on the 30th, 2 days later.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes, please.
The zoning bylaw does protect lots which are created by plan that are filed prior to the date of the town meeting. And they protect them provided that you pull your building permit and develop the lot within 7 years after the filing of the plan. I don't think anybody realized that these lots weren't buildable, and so nobody pulled a building permit to build on this lot within that time frame. In fact, the other 2 lots nobody did either. Those were pulled into 82 and 87, or 85 and 87. So,
no, I guess I'm kind of surprised that there isn't a 1 month, or people have land to take, to be able to do something, even though they may not have filed a building permit or a plan prior to it, to do something after a town meeting changes something. But The other question I have is, again, it's just nothing to do with my consideration for approval. Where this property is fronting both streets and the driveway in front of the house is going to be an old heritage. Is there any convenience for these folks that the address gets changed to Old Heritage Road rather than Orleans, where that's where their frontage and driveway is going to be? Can that be a need for that, or?
That's up to Michael and Peggy. My guess is that if they obtain a variance to build this property and the board has a preference as to where that driveway goes, they'll be okay with that.
Yeah, no, I see the driveway right now is on Old Heritage.
Yeah.
And I did just want to point out if there's something that our board can do, so if they want that convenience of having an Old Heritage address where they front,
they would like that.
Considered.
They would like it. If this board wants to impose a condition that the house front on Old Heritage, that would be fine.
Okay, I would be in agreement with that as long as Peggy and Michael that's what they wanted. Well, actually, those are my questions. I've been by the property, and I think it does meet the character of the neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jamie?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Chris?
I'm off mute. Yeah, it's certainly building in that lot would not be detrimental to the surrounding neighborhood. It'd be an improvement over what's there now in many cases. So that's not a problem. And it sounds like Mrs. Brockway, when she built that house well beyond the 7 years, was she the one that built it in 82 or 87? Was she actually the builder of that lot?
Yes, 82. Yeah.
I'll look that up and I'll tell you in one moment. It looks like she purchased the property from Richard Mee in 1982, so I'm guessing that she built that house after the purchase in 1980.
So there was a purchase in 82 after the fact, after the 7 years, and a house was built with approval after 7 years.
Yes.
And you're asking for very similar variance. Okay. Is that correct? That's what it sounds like to me. So
that is correct.
Yeah, okay. I think Attorney Zender said it best in his narrative. This is really an unusual case, and I think he said he's never seen anything like this, and I certainly haven't after all the years I've been on the board. I do think we can take the position that the shape is unique here, and certainly there's a hardship that I think justifies the variance. I think if they had intentionally created this, that is the Tucci's, that would be a different story, but they certainly did not. It was I don't know, what do you want to call it, a scrivener's error almost. They filed, the builder or surveyor filed his plan 2 days late, and nobody realized that. And I'm sure that's why the other two lots got their building permits. Nobody realized there was a problem. So I think this meets the legal requirements for the variance, which, I don't say that lightly. I'm not a big believer in the ability of properties to meet the variance requirement, but I certainly think this one does. So I would support the variance. Any other comments from the board? Anybody in the public would like to comment on this? I think the only public members are Mr. and Mrs. Tucci, but if you want to comment, you're welcome. You don't have to. Okay.
Too nervous.
Hey, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay.
Oh, you got to make the motion.
I'll make the motion. I close the public hearing.
Okay, Mr. Sullivan seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. I'll make a motion in the case, I guess. I've got it here in front of me. I'll move that in case 2020-17, the board grant to Margaret M. and Michael Tucci a variance from the lot area requirement in order to build single-family dwelling. The application is pursuant to the Code of the Town of Harwich, Section 325-52, as set forth in MGL Chapter 48, Section 10. The property is located at 1361 Orleans, map 74, parcel K2-3 in the RR zoning district. This motion is made because the board finds that the requirements for a variance for this property have been met. The only condition that I'm going to propose is that the construction vehicles be parked on Old Heritage Way. You're going to have to keep your contractors off of Route 39. They just can't park out there. This is sort of a quiet street, so I don't think we need to put any restrictions on the time of construction. So that's the motion with that one condition that we grant them the variance. Could I have a second, please?
Okay.
Hey, Mr. Armstrong, second. Is there any discussion by the board on the motion? Anybody?
So I'm in agreement.
No? Okay. We'll have to do a voice roll call. Mr. Donahue?
I'm in favor of the variance.
Okay, yes vote on the motion. Mr. Sullivan?
Yes on the motion.
Yes on the motion. Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Motion. Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Yes on the motion. And me, Dave Ryer, yes on the motion. So variance is granted, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
There's only one thing I wanted to just bring up. You've seen the Board of Health statement. And like I said, when we were talking before the meeting start, they're going hot and heavy on sewer construction. So you folks are going to have to decide how you deal with that. I hate to see you put all the money into the Title V and then have to.
Yeah.
So you need to work with your attorney and the Board of Health to figure out what's going on. Because there's a little bit of uncertainty as to the timetable of the sewers from everything I can see. You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you very much.
Come to Harwich.
Oh,
Best of luck in your retirement.
Thank you.
You've been renting for 28 years.
Ah,
Oh, my God. Thank you so, so much.
good luck.
Enjoy your
Made one
new
family very happy.
I will be in touch with you via Attorney Zender in terms of the next steps.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Sheila, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Have a good evening.
We will. Thank you, Ben.
Shayla, do we have any other business?
Isn't it funny? No, we don't.
I don't think we have any other business. We'll approve the minutes, the next meeting in our June meeting, and the minutes from this case in June, Shayla said.
And that you did notice, Dave, that the meeting schedule will remain as we had previously posted for June, whatever it is. I think it's like the 25th. Whatever the meeting schedule said is what they've allowed from town.
Has anybody filed for June?
24th, it looks like.
Yes.
June 24th.
We have a refiling from the miniature golf on Sisson and Route 28. And it's two or three others. It's three other special permits.
Okay. Well, that should be interesting. I talked to Don Howell, who's on the Board of Selectmen. He called me up, and apparently he's now our liaison, even though the Selectmen's website doesn't say that. I think they probably haven't had a chance to update it with everything going on with the virus. But he's now the liaison to the board. And I think I had said at the last meeting, I had recommended Mike Capoli for a regular position. And what Don wants to do is interview all three of our alternates. So Brian, Jamie, and Mike will all be interviewed at some point, I assume remotely. And that's all I know about that.
Well, not me though, Dave.
What's that?
Not me though, because I'm a full-time member now.
Yes, you are, yes. Did I say your name by mistake?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Chris, Brian, and Mike will all be interviewed by Don.
So you can interview Jamie.
James, he probably wants your input.
I'd have to find my tie again.
Yeah, right, wear a tie.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Summertime, you're a tie and short.
What did I say to my wife the other day? We could wear the ties instead of masks or something. I've got a closet full of old ties, and I think I've still got 4 or 5 suits. When I was working.
I wonder if there's been an increase in sale of sweatpants and pajamas.
Oh, yeah, it has been.
I certainly have bought them.
At some point when I was working, we went casual, and I had like 13 suits, but no decent casual clothes, so I had a whole new wardrobe.
Same thing happened to me. My last job, all of a sudden, I had to go and buy like 6 sport coats.
Yep.
That was casual in this company.
Yeah, we didn't even need sport coats or ties, but I had to get some decent sweaters and shirts and pants and whatnot. Okay, folks. Well, I think we can have a motion to adjourn. We'll adjourn at 7:26 p.m. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll make a
Second.
motion to adjourn.
Okay. Jamie moved and Chris seconded.
Yep.
So we will adjourn the meeting. Thanks all for joining us, and we'll see you on June 24th.
This has been my favorite meeting.
Yes, me too.